Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Live from Chicago. By the time you see this, perhaps already be in the air towards Eretz Yisrael, leaving just a few hours from Chicago to Eretz Yisrael, and arriving in Eretz Yisrael at 11:30 at night or something. So shouldn't be back. The first year I will, Be'ezrat Hashem, be Friday morning. Friday morning we'll be live. Be'ezrat Hashem. To remind the Olam, this might be the day of your Sefira. Here in Chicago, it's Asar Yomim, Shein Shavua Chad B'Shlisha Yomim, Ba'im Eloimer. It might be a little different by the time you see this. Dave Sharpin put this picture in because today is Yom HaZikaron for all those who don't have a yard site, or I guess everybody that was in the Shoah. And just this year, we went on an MDY trip. And part of that, we were in the concentration camps. And here you can see the ovens. It was Noirevayim. It was very, very emotional. And I had to take out the Gemara and just learn a few lines, give a little bit of a shear. But by the exact spot where so many thousands, tens of thousands of Yidden were burnt, cremated. This is not Auschwitz. This was in, what was it called? I don't even remember anymore. But right over there, there's a few very scary things. There was a wagon, the wagons to take the bodies into the oven, but there was also small wagons for babies. It was very, very gross. Medanik, yeah, ishkoyach. Medanik. And of course, from where I'm standing, right across from where I'm standing, maybe 10 feet across from these ovens, was a bathtub that the Russia Marusha Nazi in charge over there, he would take baths and he would heat the water from the heat coming off the ovens. And he had no problem bathing, and just to imagine bathing just 10 feet away from where these bodies are being cremated. Talking about today's sugyas about the shaksu, that's mamish about the shaksu, sheinka digma. So that is a disgusting human beings, if you could call them b'chal that. Rabbi Isai, we have here Moshe Shulgasser from Detroit to Muncie. He did 6 daf, which is unbelievable. Way to spend a trip. It's a long trip, I guess, but to spend it with Torah. Who says you can't make up most of Yontav? You fell behind over. While I was catching up, I coined a new phrase for MD wires. When you fall behind, you're in a deficit. Thank you for your challah board a few weeks before Pesach. I guess it's a little bit of a shtach. Talking about shtachs, I got an email from someone who said, listen, it wasn't so nice what you said about Gibraltar. You said they engaged. I didn't make fun. Chas v'shalom. I was just trying to make light of it. It came out funny that the kid is engaged. It's gewaldic that he's engaged. I didn't chas to make fun of somebody. Not pitam. It's all good. It's all geschmack. Very, very proud of this 11-year-old that's doing it in Gibraltar. And his parents, I'm proud of his parents who are proud of him. Chas v'shalom, chas v'chalila. And the person says, look, you look at your screen. It was Hebrew and English. So it was translated from, the Hebrew, we translated the Hebrew from the English. We're not trying to make fun of anyone. If yes, for jokes, but not to make fun. Okay. Here's Rebbe Aryeh checking out, famous. But here he is. Well, thank you for giving me the best yontiv so far by getting to learn with my 13-year-old son, Makkos. Made him feel so special. Didn't go a day without making sure to do the daf. Halavai, I could say that about everybody I know. That not a day of Benizman went by without learning. Every day, the smile my son had on his face, he's learning the concept of it's not about the daf, it's about the Yomi. Thank you for checking out, and son David. Rav Eli, I know you don't love when people ask to remain anonymous, but alas, here's what I'm at. I haven't created a lot of cars that toy for them, and why you share. Everyone has been a person who has wanted to incorporate learning to my life for a long time. Everybody wants to. I think a lot of people want to incorporate, but they don't go ahead and do it. After years post-yeshiva of wanting to learning in my life without any action, I'm finally in a place where I'm watching or listening to Yeshir daily, was able to complete all of Sanhedrin. I'm incredibly proud of myself. Oh, Givaldik. So you know what happens when you're proud of yourself? The Yitzhar steps in and says, listen, you got to slow down. And this is what happens. I had a question and a suggestion. Question. You mentioned in one of your recent shiurim that even if things are going in one ear and out, it still has value. It still has value. I definitely feel like there have been many days where that has been me, and I agree that there's still value. That being said, I don't know how I feel about making a siyum on Sanhedrin. I feel like I completed Sanhedrin Daf Yomi, but I don't know if I feel like I learned all of Sanhedrin to make a siyum. Curious to hear your thoughts. Listen, I think it's the Yitzhar. That's what I think. I think the Yitzhar is trying to get you to start doubting yourself. That is the nature of Daf Yomi. There's many daf that go in one ear of mine and go out the other, and I don't know if I understand or the same thing. The Yitzhar could play games. It's the Yitzhar. I'm not a Rav, but I'm pretty certain that you can make a siyum. You listen to all the shiurim. You heard it all. If you didn't understand, no one understands 100%. How could everybody understand 100% if the Magid himself says shtusim sometimes, and so it's only 98%, whatever it is. But the point is, you make a siyum and you celebrate the fact that you learned the full Masechta. So there's going to be holes in the Masechta. So you didn't understand everything, but you tried. And you listened. And sometimes you were tired and you fell asleep. But it's all good. You make a siyum. That's how I paskin. Now, the Rav could argue, but that's what you're asking me. That's what I think. Suggestion. Okay? He said, Modex, Yeshiva, chat groups. How to get on these groups? Down on Astro. Here, Rav Daniel Michaeli says that he saw the interview I did with Hidabrut. And, I didn't show this in the Hebrew share because we had issues. But here's another 11-and-a-half-year-old, because we're mamish on a theme with these 11-and-a-half-year-olds, 11-year-olds that are doing the daf. And he says that he was learning in the hardest places to learn, like on the train, and he had to make up some stuff. And this kid gets up at 5, 6 in the morning to make up dapim that he missed. You believe this? That's nachas. Kid is getting up 5 in the morning to be mashlim a daf. Anyway, he already finished all the dapim so far, and he did 14 daf with us. He's very, very, has a lot of karsa toiv. Daniel Michaeli. This is his son learning at 7:20 in the morning on a train. The Masechta is sponsored by anonymous Hatzlacha Bruchnius of Yisroel Cherns in honor of my chavrisa Shmueli Unger, Szlafrok Family in memory of their uncle Simmy Schaer, Simcha Yisrael ben Naftali Tzvi A. Shalom. Anonymous, may our learning bring us closer to one another and to Hashem. Multi-sponsors, Hatzlacha B'Parnasa, Yoni Klestzick, Refuah Shelamah, Yehudit Braina, Refuah Parnasa Birevach, for Nissim Ben, Shoshana Leah, Jeff's Gourmet, Los Angeles, Parnasa Chodesh for the Koilel. Thank you to Rav Eli's wife and kids for the great sacrifice they make, allowing him to spread Torah to the masses. Daily sponsors, Burstein Family, in honor of our son Ezi, and all the Heichal Hatorah Talmidim learning the Daf with Rav Eli. I'm very proud of all you. Givaldik. How many are there? Are there really 40? Let me know. Somebody else, write an email. Take some pictures. Rachel and Car Miller. Rachami Shomayim and Speedy Refuah Shelamah for Chaya Shira Roiza Bas Ayala Malka Refuah Shelamah. Anonymous in honor of the birthday of the one who does the on-screen Gemara follow along with much love. Wow, didn't we just have something like that? Maybe there's the Hebrew and then the English. Okay, with much love. We have a lot of Akar Satayv. It happens to be, you're not going to, MS. I can tell you exactly who it was. A person by the name of Shlomi Davis came over to me, the white beard. He says, I do your shir occasionally. I love when they say occasionally, but Lamaisa, he knew all the shir. He says, I'm trying to get my sons into it. He is a fundraiser or whatever. He helps out in Neve. He told me about the mash, that the mash of Neve had a stroke. And then he tells me it's so good to follow along. Today, this morning at Chakras. Today. Coincidence. The Olam really appreciates this person, whoever he is. I must have met him, but I don't know who does it. I really don't. He's a real anonymous. Shiva of Heichal plans to make their own siyum because so many boys are learning the daf now in a nice restaurant. He's going to make something special for them. Wow, I wish I could be there. I would love to surprise them. We'll have to do something. Halavai they continue weiter. Rosh Hashiva, what do you say about just making it part of the curriculum? At night seder or something. Like instead of a Bakiyas thing, we'll save some money. You won't have to hire Magid Shurim for Bakiyas. Sorry, Bakiyas Rabbi. Just put in a big screen and the Olam watches 1 hour of MDY. It's gewaldig. What do you say? The daily sponsor Yisrael grows. L'zechi nishmas Yaakov ben Yosef, Yaakov Yitzchok ben Yaakov, and Edel bas Yaakov. Tani and Ruthie Pollack. In honor of her son Ezra, Zechron Levracha's 5th Hebrew birthday today. And in memory of all whom perished in the Holocaust. The Neshama should have an Aliyah. Ezra's Neshama should have an Aliyah. What a zetz that was. Shalom Yehuda Felder, Linishmas MDY member, Rebbe Nachem Mendel, Zechron ben Yibal Chaim, Yitzchok Rightport, Nifter, in tragic car crash. What's that all about? First I'm hearing that. Okay, wow. Psuris Royce, not good, not good. Last night. Whoa, last night from Florida. An MDY member. Wow, wow, wow. The Shom should have an Aliyah. Okay. Wow. All right, yesterday we learned Shvuah Shoichel Kikar Ze Hayoim. If somebody makes a Shvuah, that he's going to eat a loaf of bread, and the day goes by and he didn't eat it, so we have both Birevach and Shlokish hold. And I'll just remind you with this. Where is it? Wow, they have to tell me this psuris rois as I'm going to. Okay, it is what it is. I don't have tinus on the guy. Oh no, you're not going to believe it, Mark. Same thing all over again. Computer is acting up again. This is weird. Maybe it gives me a minute to compose myself here. Young guy nifted in a car accident. Okay, we have a guy who swears to his father that he's going to eat a loaf of bread, and the day goes on and the day goes out and he doesn't eat it. Malchus or no Malchus? But everybody holds no Malchus for two different reasons. Either because it's a lav shein b'maisa, he didn't eat the bread. If he would have eaten the bread when he swore that he's not going to eat the bread, that's a maisa. He ate the bread. But over here, he didn't eat the bread. He just left it on the counter. So you don't get a punishment for not doing something. L'mashal, like the famous line, a kid asks his teacher, he says, does a person get punished for something he didn't do? And the teacher says, of course not. He says, well, great, because I didn't do my homework. So do you get punished for not doing something? Rabbi Yochanan ain't a loika. Mishum lav shein boi maisa. V'chalav shein boi maisa ein loikenhav. And a lav that there's no action, you don't get malchus. Daf tezayin Amud Aleph. Rishlokish oimer ein a loika mishum dahav asra safek. V'chal asra safek lo yishma asra. So like we discussed yesterday, in order to get malchus, you have to be warned. And in order to warn, you have to know if it's going to occur and when it's going to occur. If you don't know that it's going to occur because he might eat the bread during the day, and in any given moment he might eat it, then I don't know that he's chayiv. So I can't give malchus on a doubt. It has to be something that's physically going to happen. In other words, hasra has to happen terke de dibur. It has to be within just a few seconds of when the person takes action. I can't give hasra at 8 o'clock in the morning for something you might do at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. and to keep on giving it the asra, and it might not happen, that's not asra, that's asra, safek lishma asra. So we have a machlokes what the reason is, but both agree that when a person does not eat the bread, even though he swore he will, he doesn't get malchus. V'tarvayu, I'll leave it to Rabbi Yehuda. Something to think about, just we have a very super interesting sugya today with ants and worms. And so when a person eats a worm on purpose, which reminds me a terrible thing here, it happened to me on this block here in Lincolnwood, Illinois. Very, I would say not, he wore a yarmulke, but let's call him very light in terms of his observance. And he saw me and my wife, and this is years ago when I used to live here, and he says, I auditioned for, what was the name of that show? There was a show that you have to do crazy stuff, like be in a cage with a bunch of rats, and they had one of these names, like, and whoever lasts the longest, you get a certain amount of money. So I said, how did you audition? What did you do? He says, I ate a whole can of live worms. Like, hello, do you realize that's like not Survivor. No. Survivor is a different one. This was like, they had it also in Orlando, in one of those Fear Factor. I think it was called Fear Factor. Yes. Fear Factor. They used to do like, those who remember, like you had to jump off a building, but you're tied to a rope. You have to do scary things. So he wanted to show that he's capable. So Loyaleno, he eats a worm, a bunch of worms. Now, how many yisurim are you over if you eat one worm? What if it's a bumblebee? How many yisurim are you over on that? What if it's an aquatic creature? So we're going to learn about that. What if you grind it up? Like some people say, look, if you have worms in strawberries, which they're very common, or little bugs, but if you grind it in a blender, you make a milkshake out of it, it's not such a problem. So we're going to see that sugya today. Another thing that the Olam should remember is, what person, if you curse him, you get the death penalty? So the answer to that is a father or mother. So Zog the Gemara. They both argue in what Rabbi Yehuda the Tana said. The Sanyo. So we have the korban Pesach. Our boys are coming right off of Pesach. So the halacha is you have to eat the entire, every piece of meat. And if you have anything left over, what's going on? Why did it pause? If you have anything left over, you must burn it. Don't know why I paused. Oh. It's very geschmack. Wow. Oh. So here the Torah gives us a remedy. The Torah is telling us what the remedy is. If you did an Aveira, you left over from the Korban Pesach, here's the remedy. By the way, I'm thinking that this is an old thought, that let's say a person gets stuck. He has 2 pounds of meat. He's just not capable of eating 2 pounds. And now you're going to be over. What do? He miscalculated. He thought he was going to have a lot of guests, and then the guests didn't show up. And now he has a Korban Pesach night, and he has, I'm sure there's like a gemach somewhere that when you have this issue, they come and they devour the meat for you. There has to be such a thing. If not, we'll invent one. So, the Rabbi Yehuda says there's no malchus in this case. Okay, now you take Rabbi Yehuda and you can infer from this. Rabbi Yehuda is saying, look, in this case, there's no malchus because there's a remedy. What do? Put it in the fire, like this picture. You put it in the fire. Rabbi Yochanan Dayikachi, and Rabbi Yochanan says, "Time the ba'akosov." It's only because the Torah said there's a remedy. Put in the fire. Haloi ba'akosov like you would get malchus. Why would you get malchus? Al Masra Safek Shmu Asra. Here in this case, you don't know if he's going to leave it over or not, and you'll never know until it's over. So therefore, it's a doubtful warning, and a doubtful warning. There's no Malchus. So says Rabbi Yochanan, you see from here that when you have a doubt in the Hasra, you do get Malchus. Rish Lakish Dayikacha, and Rish Lakish is Medayik, what he wants to be Medayik. Now, each one is going to have to explain how come they didn't infer like the other one. It's only because the Torah says Mefurish, you're not chayiv in the case of carbon pesach because you could burn it. But if not, you would get Malchus. Why? I'm alive. You see from Rabbi Yehuda that even though there is no actual physical action that he took, he didn't take a physical action, he just did not eat the carbon. So you see that even in such a case, you get Malchus. Says Gemara of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Tami Avadi Asra Szlafrok. So now the Gemara is just going to take each one and say, how come the other one didn't learn like one another? Rish Lakish, how come he doesn't say, look, it's definitely a case, a clear case of Asra Szlafrok, of Asra that's doubt. We don't know if there's going to be Asra or not. And so you see from here that in Asra Szlafrok you get Malchus. No, so Allah Kidach Tana the Rebbe Yehuda, he holds like the other Rebbe Yehuda, the Sanya. It says in the other Rebbe Yehuda, we're talking about a very interesting story where a woman was married to a person and she got divorced. Now, when you get divorced, you can't marry a second person. You have to wait. If you're a woman, you have to wait for 3 months to make sure that the pregnancy was either from the first husband or the second husband. She didn't wait, and she got married to a second man, and then she had a baby. Before DNA testing and before you could look at the baby and say, oh, wow, it looks exactly... Baby looks like neither of them. Now, who's the father? We don't know. But he's one of these two. Comes the son, and he has a lot of trauma in his life. He grew up without knowing who his father is. So he made a meeting with both of them, and he beats them both up. Now, if you cause a chaburi, cause blood, whatever it is, you get the death penalty. What happens if he hit one, and the next day he hit another one? He definitely beat up his father. I don't know if it was on Sunday or Monday, but he beat them up. He cursed both of them. First one, then the other. Oh, now there's a case of hikoshnayim bevasachas. What if he beat them one whack over both of their heads in one shot? Or a kilshnayim bevasachas. Whatever it was, he cursed both of them in one shot. Now, what is this? This is also a situation of Hasra Safek. I don't know who the real father is, so I can't warn you. However, if you hit both of them in one shot, says Rabbi Yehuda, then you're chayiv. So you see, Rabbi Yehuda holds that Hasra Safek there's no Malchus, only when it's bivasachas. But if I warn you and I say, listen, if you hit this guy, or that guy, you're chayiv, you're going to be chayiv Malchus. I can't do it. Why? Because I didn't know which one is your father, so I didn't give you a real Malchus. Nevertheless, you get Malchus. I'm sorry, you don't get Malchus in that case, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan, isn't this a case of lav shem b'maisa? The not eating the carbon pesach is lav shem b'maisa. And you see that, like Rish Lakish proves, that even though it's lav shem b'maisa, you would get Malchus. The only reason you don't get Malchus is because the Torah says you don't get Malchus. The Torah says there's a remedy. So it's a raya that there is Malchus. No, so look at Omar Rav Eli Barovin, Omar Rav Aaron, or Rav Yitzchok, Omar Rav Yochanan, the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Shum Rabbi Yosei Haglili. Here, there's another Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yosei Haglili. Kol lois hasish b'Torah. Any lav, lav. Sorry, kol lois hasish b'Torah. Lav sheish b'Maisa loikin alav. Shein b'Maisa ain't loikin alav. If there's no action, no punishment. Chutz and so here he's going to hold that lav shein b'Maisa ain't loikin alav. Here, there's no Malchus, even though from this Hiko business, you see that there is Malchus. Says Gemara, hold on. There's so lav shem b'maisa, no malchus. There's an exception to the rule. If a person swears, what kind of shvuah? We're talking about a shvuah that at the time of the shvuah you are lying, not something in the future like we discussed, not the case of the bread that you only know later on. Something that says, I swear that I ate yesterday. So that's on the spot, you give him malchus. Umeimar, what's meimar? This is like my favorite question that it used to be my favorite question. I used to ask a lot of people that don't do the daf. I would say, what does tmura mean? Tmura. So tmura, I would say, is tmura, how many mitzvahs do you get for doing tmura? Let's say even if they know, tmura means that you substitute one animal instead of a carb. You already put aside a carbon, and then you like another animal instead of it. So you say, you know what, the carbon should, instead of it being the one on the left, it should be the one on the right. Let's see how it looks. No volume, please. Just, this is a carbon. Okay, and then he looks and he sees a much better, geschmacker, fatter, gesunter animal. He says, oh, I want to make the chulin one, number 2, I want to make that the carbon. It should be instead of the 2, should be instead of 1. That's called tmura. That's isser d'oraisa. So if you do that, you get malchus on the spot. And if you curse your friend with the Shem Hashem, fine. Says Gemara, Kasha de Rabbi Yehuda. So we have an actual contradiction here between Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because by Noisar, we said it's both Noisar and cursing a father. They're both lav shem b'maisa. There's no action. Cursing a father, you didn't take action. You just cursed. And it's Asra Suffolk because you don't know which one is the father. By Noisar, it's Asra Suffolk because you don't know if he's going to eat it, not eat it, or going to leave over. You don't know. So, yet, by Noisar, we say this is malchus. And by Mekalel, Rabbi Eli says there's no malchus. So, why? What's the difference? So the Gemara, if you go according to Rabbi Lakish, you say, you know what? We have a big problem. They're both Rabbi Yehuda, but one was brought down by one Talmud that heard a certain thing in Shir, and the other one was brought down by another Talmud. Here, look, I can read one email and somebody looks into it this way and somebody looks into it that way. I'll ask 10 people to say, no, it wasn't insulting. You thought it was AI. Those, no, you put them down, you mevaish them barabim, if that's mechila, the whole thing. So people hear different things. They hear what they want to hear, maybe sometimes. I don't know. Loy kashya. Hodidei, hodirabe. Sorry. They're not even the Rabbi Yehuda. That's one. Either Rabbi Yochanan, but Rabbi Yochanan will say, loy kashya. Hodidei. The top one, Noisar, is his own psak. He holds that lav shem b'maisa and Asur Suffolk is malchus. And Hodirabe, Rabbi Saglili heard this in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Saglili's brisa, the Mekalel of it. Oh, and now Rabbi Isai, we're talking about a brand new sugya, the sugya of Shiluch Hakan. Where's Shiluch Hakan here? Oh, so in Shiluch Hakan we have 2 psukim, pasuk vav and pasuk zayin. In Shiluch Hakan there's a lois hasei, there's a iser, there's a lav. Do not take the mother with the chicks, the baby birds, or the eggs. And then there's a positive. Asay. Send away the mother and take the chicks for yourself. So let me pause it for a second and show you a video real quickly. Here we need some audio.
That's crazy.
See, here's the bird.
If you don't get close to it, it's not gonna move.
It's not gonna move. Okay. So now, you need to get the bird to go away and then get the egg. This is your house.
It's my house.
Right. So now this bird belongs to you.
It's my bird. It's my mosquito machine. Left here from Sukkot.
It's all yours, right?
All mine.
So there's no shiloh haken if it's all yours.
Not mine. In other words, I said in Koilel once that I'm not zoiche any type of birds, anything.
So you're not zoiche anything. Okay. Fine. So this is all hefker. So now if you mishalech the thing, even when he's mishalech, you're not being zoich in the egg.
Not zoich anything.
Right, you're not zoich anything. Okay, so now you can do shiloh haken. If you make this bird go away, right? Mm-hmm. And you take and then you can take the egg. As long as he's on top of it, even if he goes above, but he's standing up there, above the can, don't take the eggs. Okay, it's also, now you can go for
What
it.
if he goes flying?
If he goes
Yeah.
flying,
What bracha do I say?
You don't say a
Shahagol
bracha.
niyeh b'dvarai?
No, you don't say a bracha
No,
because you're
okay.
not sure that it's be'emes hashiluach haken.
Now,
because
there's an
maybe-
issue that
maybe it's
this
the
middle-
father.
Maybe it's the father, and
so
usually
they-
during the daytime,
and
the
because-
fathers sit on it.
And because we don't know,
Yeah.
so you're not going to say a bracha.
All right, Haredi Mechaven, to do mitzvahs shiluach haken. I'm going to chase away the mother bird and take the egg away. When you do kavanas like this, here we go. Always have a glove in your pocket just in case you want to do shiluach haken.
Like your son has a cup, just in case. Just in case.
Okay, here goes.
go from behind. Just grab its tail.
There's 2 eggs here. Should I take both or no?
You can take both. You can
Should
also
I take both?
you
Should
can
I
also-
do you a favor?
You can also put them back if you want.
It's very
If the
interesting
if the yoki
that I
wants
found
them back.
another egg in there. Hold on. What's this? Oh my goodness. This has my signature in there. That's crazy. How did Hadron Allah Mesechtes Beitza? Unbelievable. So we did it on my porch. I don't remember for who, but I think, there was only Americans then, only in English. And we gave out in a jar, we gave a little, like a box with this egg that said Hadron Allah. It was a special version of these eggs. It was printed by the egg company. Hadron Allah Mesechtes Beitza. So, and then, you poke a hole in the top and the bottom, you take everything, all the yolk out and everything, and then you could keep it. So that's shiluach haken. Now, there's 2 options here. Check this out. So that's way number 1. What happens? Now I'm going to show you the worst of the worst. This is you take the mother. It's no, you don't take the mother, and then you kill the mother. Now you're over this, or why? Because you have no remedy. Had you not killed her, then you could maybe chase her away, according to one man Omar. But now that you killed her, you ruined it. That's called bittul. Remember, we discussed bittul yesterday. When you get rid of every opportunity, there's no way for you to do the mitzvah anymore. That's bittul. Okay. So says the Gemara. Hanoitel, not awesome. Hanoitel im al abonim. If you take the mother with the eggs, with the chicks. Rav Yehuda says you get Malchus and you don't. There's no remedy. Why? Because Rav Yehuda holds that this pasuk loisika chaim al abonim and shalech the shalach is before you over the iser, not after. Shalech the shalach is not a remedy, says Rav Yehuda. Typically speaking, if I asked anybody before this year, they would tell me like Rav Yehuda. Shalech the shalach is not if I did take the mother with the eggs, then you should send the mother away. No, shalech the shalach, send the mother away before you did it iser. So Rav Yehuda holds you get Malchus because there's no remedy. Chacham say no, there is a remedy. Shalech the shalach. If you mess up and you take the mother with the eggs, then there's a remedy. Shalech the shalach, and therefore there's a remedy. There's no Malchus. Right? It's a lav anita asay. Anytime there's a lav and asay, and that's a remedy, it's a remedy. There's no Malchus. Zaklal. There's a klal, and the Gemara is going to search for what other. There's a rule. So what else is in the rule? Kol mitzvahs lo yisases sheyesh bukum asay. Anytime there's a remedy, you're not chayav Malchus. What examples are there? So yesterday we discussed stealing. There's a remedy for stealing. We discussed a ma'anis, somebody who violates a woman and he's supposed to marry her. He married her and he divorced her. There's a remedy. Can remarry her? What else? So we're going to see different things today. And we're going to go through the things that we learned yesterday as a chazara. There's one. There's two. Two total. Zois, v'oid acheres, and one more. Asks Rebbe, where? What's the other one? Tishkach. When you go find it, find it. In other words, it's, you know what? It's a riddle. Let's make it a, whatever the word is I'm looking for. If I was in the Bismedrash, different people would be screaming out now. Maybe Mark will write down on let's make it an adgar, a challenge. Let's make it a challenge. Oh, that's the word. You ask me what it is, you come up with the answer. So he went out to starts looking through Shas. Oh, the Sayani found if this guy, the Ma'anis, he was supposed to marry this girl if she agrees, and then he divorced her, and it says in the pasuk, here, the pasuk like we had yesterday, Veloy with a vav, it's a say to marry her. They forgot to mark. I don't know if you can go in there. If you could turn it to green, it'll be great. I don't know if you're able to. It doesn't matter. Maybe I'll try to remember afterwards. Because it's a positive. A positive we make green. So if he's Yisrael and he divorced her, there's a remedy. Remarry her. So therefore, it's allowed anything let's say. There's no Makkos. But if he's a kohen, there's no remedy because the kohen cannot marry her. So he gets Makkos. Here. We had yesterday the Braisa. One time it says in the Reisha the word Kayam. The second time it says Bitel. It says Rebbe Yochanan they have to be either both Kayim or both Bitel. What's the difference? One means I could be Mekayim it just this moment, and if I don't do it right now, I get punished. Bitel means I could be Mekayim it in time, my whole lifetime, and therefore you cannot give me Makkos. The only time you can give me Makkos is if I'm mevatel it, like you said before, by the bird, by the Shiloh HaKan. How do you mevatel? If you kill the bird, so you can't send it away anymore, then you get Makkos. So you can get Makkos right now because you have to do it right now. If you don't do it right now, I'll give you Makkos. Now the Gemara goes into it to explain that you have to kill the bird. But what's the Gemara's question? How do I get to the situation that I can never do the mitzvah? Let me send the bird away. So when it comes to Shiloh HaKen, I can figure it out. How could I be mevatel the mitzvah completely? Like we saw before, by destroying the bird, by killing the bird. So I can never send it away, so you get Makkos. But as somebody that's ma'anis a woman, how do you have a situation where you can never marry her? So the Gemara is going to go through a few, like in the shir I asked yesterday without seeing this Gemara, and this guy screamed out this answer, this mamish mechamet to the Gemara. This one, I don't know if anybody screamed out. What if he killed the woman? So now you can't marry her. So now you should get Makkos. But you can't get Makkos. Why? Because when you killed her, you chayiv misa for killing her. And you chayiv Makkos for not being able to marry her at that moment that you killed her. So now you have two oinchim, misa and Makkos. And what is that called? That's called Kamli b'derabimine. And you only get misa, you don't get Makkos in that case. Either Katla Kamli b'derabimine. Interesting that we have two people with the same name, just one came from Chayzna, one came from Naharda. So it says oh, she accepted Kiddushin. She's engaged to somebody else, so she can't remarry you. We have an Isser of Magzik Rishasai marrying your divorcee is only when she didn't marry somebody else. Once she marries somebody else, you can't remarry her. So she didn't get married, but she's engaged now. Engaged to get married. She's Eishish. If she made her original husband the shliach, she's the one that did it with her own hands. She's mevatel. Let me just make sure that that's what it meant here. I think that's what it means. Shavite, she made him. If she didn't make her husband the shliach, so she went and got engaged to somebody. What does that have to do with the husband? It's not his fault. He wants to remarry her. Now he can't because she took action and she ruined it for him to get married. It's not his problem. Why should she get punished for that? Even if she made him a shliach, she was the one that did it. Elam Rav Shimi ben Narda says somebody else, but the same name, but from Narda. So that's what we said yesterday. Rashi brings it down. That over there. that once the man himself makes a neder, he makes a vow that he will never marry this woman, then he can't marry her anymore. Oh, so it's a great case. It's a case where he wants to marry her. The Torah says he should marry her, but he can't because he swore that he's not going to marry her. He made not swore. He took a vow that he can't marry her. Can't marry her. But not just a regular vow, a vow in public. A vow in public you can't annul. You can't go to the Rav and be made for it. That's only according to that man that you can't annul it. So what if you did in public? Go to the rabbi, say, listen, I didn't know I'm going to get 39 lashes. That kills, that hurts a lot. Had I known that I made a vow against her, then I wouldn't have made that vow. I didn't want to get punished. Oh, the Madir law, I'll ask Rabbi. There's another case that you can't get out of it and can't go to the rabbi to annul the neder, and that is if you make the neder on condition that the public agrees with it. So Rashi says something interesting. We have to understand it, but he says, because she did something wrong. So they ask if she did something wrong, so what's the problem? It's the right thing to do neder. Okay, whatever it is, it's just a certain neder. She did something wrong and he did it in public. The Omar Ameimar and Ameimar says, the halacha is neder shuda berabim yishnei afara. If you make a neder in public, you could annul it. Al das rabim, if you do with their kavana, then ein afara, you can't take it back. Says Gemara b'suleka, that's the only mitzvah that has a remedy. Bo'ika simin gezel mashkin peah gezel. Remember yesterday? Show this for a second. Gezel, guy steals, so there's a remedy. Return the gzela. The Torah says don't steal, and then the Torah says return it. Don't get malchus in that. Mashkoin. If you take collateral from somebody, so the Torah says don't take his PJs, don't take his pajama. Why? Okay, and the Torah says, you have to give back the pajama before nighttime. I was just thinking in the Hebrew shir that just like they have different organizations that do different things, like you could do petach chamar, they buy the chamar and you do the redemption. You just have to give them a few dollars. So we can make a business. We could borrow somebody's pajamas, and everybody pitches in and gives, like, I'll do it for MDY. Like, I'll borrow pajamas from my neighbor, and everybody gives like $100, $200, maybe $1,000. We'll charge cheap, $1,000 a person, and they can be part of this mitzvah of giving back the pajamas at night, because people might building up pajamas, PJs, not in yours. Oh, this I can do according to everybody. That what? You're right. There's a remedy. There's a way out of it. But if you don't do it right away, according to the Manoma Kimoy, I have to do it right away. If you don't do it right away, you get Malchus. According to the Manoma, you have a lifetime to do it. So I have a way that you get Malchus. How? By burning the PJs. I burn them. Now I can't return them. Oh, I can't return them. Whoa. Big issues over here. I wonder what that is. Computers is acting up a little bit. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, when a person burns somebody else's pajamas, then he has to pay him the $22 that the pajamas cost. So you don't get malchus and payment. You don't pay and malchus. Where do we find that you do? By Mitzvah Shemra, you pay, but usually you don't pay both. You don't get punished twice. So that's why it's not in the list of things of assay, of a lois assay that has an assay to fix it. I have something else. It's the same thing. You take collateral from a ger, but the ger doesn't have any children. Doesn't have any yarshim. So you have nobody to pay back if the ger dies. You burn the PJs, and then the ger dies, and now who are you going to pay back? So since you can't pay it back, so now you chayiv malchus. So says the Gemara after Zayin on the base. Awesome. this man is ready to pay. The shibud the ger with the kopaka. It's just that the ger has no lien, has no claim on that object. So let's do the sponsor here. Turning of the daf back like Adar Global, one-stop shop for all your financial needs. Innovations LLC in honor of our sons Kalmo and Yisroel for learning Sanhedrin Makkos with Rav Eli. In honor of Adar Global and Innovations, true role models of how to support the daf and learning. Ask the Gemara, Vo'ika Peya, what about Peya? Peya is one of the things that you have to give to the poor people if you have a field. And that is, you have to leave a corner of the field. Yeah? So, let's see. Oh, I think it moves a little bit, actually. Yeah. Now, Peya, you decided not to give it to the poor people. So you should get Malchus. But you can't get Malchus. Why? Because of the remedy. But what if there's no remedy? What if I could be mevatel? I do something you can't give to the poor person. What do? So the Gemara is going to go through it. Do not eat up the corners. You should. There's a do not and there's a should. You should give it to the ani. If you don't do it right away, you should get malchus. And if I destroy it somehow, I can't give it to the ani. You should also get malchus. This nan. What's the case? Mitzvahs peya lavish min hakama. The best thing is to give peya when it's standing tall. If you didn't do it then, so you should do it when it's in the bushels. Oops. Wow. So you can see in the foreground, you see the bushels. If I didn't take from the bushels, you could do it from the pile. Here's the pile. And that's called miruach. What he's doing is he's smoothing out the pile. Actually, mirach. Before he smoothed out. Mirach, once he smoothes it out, he should give ma'aser and give it to him. But what seems like that once it turns into flour, once it's past the stage of a pile, you cannot give it to the ani. So that's it. You're stuck. That's a bittul. You can't remedy anything. Says the Gemara, sorry, no. So it goes according to Rabbi Shmuel. The Rabbi Shmuel, the Omar af mafresh min ha'isa. No, that's not the end of the line. You could still give to the ani. It's not the end. Give it from the dough. As the Gemara, Rabbi Shmuel, nami mishkachas lo doach elisa. What if he got rid of the dough? It's gone. He destroyed it. So now what are you going to do? Elo zois v'yda cheresa. You're right. That's exactly what Rabbi Yochanan meant. Rabbi said this one, which is the shiluach hakan, and this one, the second one, is the peya. There's two. But you should know when we're talking about the violator, the honest guy, that's not included. Why? That's wrong. What do you say? You said there's a case to be mevatalit, to say that there's no remedy. Why? Because he made a neder on condition that the public agrees to it. But that's not true in this case. Why? That's only when it comes to anything not a mitzvah. But over here, since it's a mitzvah in the Torah to remarry your ex, so then you could annul a neder that's done in public al das harabim. Says the Gemara, and this is a wild Gemara. I like to bring this Gemara up occasionally because it's a shocking Gemara. Many of the people who are watching who have trauma from cheder, from school, where the Rebbe gave a couple of whacks here and there, this is not going to sit well with them. So just like I give a warning to the people who don't like blood from now on, Be'ez Hashem, I'm giving a warning for people that have trauma from spankings and that sort of thing. Here, there's a Rebbe in Cheder. He's a professional chinuch. Reberish, a master mechanach, shares his chinuch secrets. He has whips, he has bats, he has all sorts of stuff. He used to hit the children very hard. Too much, says Rashi. Adre Ravacha. So Ravacha kicked him out of this school, and made a neder that he's not going to be a Rebbe anymore. Now, what's crazy is that that's Rashi over here. But I love this Rashi. I love, telling people about this. Rashi M'chayers Daf Memvav Amud Aleph. Read carefully. Pasha binuke, Malka Oisam hitem umeisim, and they die. Oh, I just thought of a Moirdik Pshat. Moirdik Pshat Chaval. I didn't think about this in the Hebrew one. Malka Oisam umeisim, say the psychologist of 2025, that when you hit the kid, umeisim, they die, not physically, but mentally, traumatically. They have trauma for the rest of their life. They're mason. Do not hit your children. Do not hit. Okay. That's that pshat. But Rashi says that there was a Rebbe in the school who hit kids and they died. So they had to get rid of him. They made a neder. He's not going to work anymore. And what happened? The Hadri Ravina, and Ravina brought him back to work again as a Rebbe in school. Imagine the horror of the parents. On the first day of school, bring your kids in. I want to introduce you to your son's Rebbe. This Rebbe, he promised not to kill anymore. Last year, he killed 6 kids. This year, he's going to be much better. He's going to be much more careful with the children. He's going to go easy on them. Up to 22 punches in the stomach. Not anything more than that, because unfortunately, they died last year, and we spoke to him, and he accepted to be a little gentler with them. Why? Why did they bring him back? Because they couldn't find the Rebbe as good as him. He was a great Rebbe, didn't make any mistakes. So we got to bring him back. So he killed a few kids. No. So that's what I'm saying. You have to, if you have trauma from these things, I apologize. I think it's something to remember. Chayris, don't forget that. Chayris daf memvav. All right, brand new sugya. That being said, now that you're all traumatized, even those who weren't traumatized in yeshiva are traumatized by this Rashi, and now we move on to the next sugya. So if you weren't traumatized by this, we have something else to traumatize you. How do you like eating a bunch of ants and worms and these kind of things? So for this sugya, you got to see this. I hope it is Givaldi. Check this out. Because in the Hebrew we had a couple of issues, but it looks like it's all fixed up. There are 8 psukim, no less than 8 psukim, telling you that you can't eat insects. Now, the 2 top ones, the red, belong with everything. So no matter what you eat, you're going to be over on 2. 1 and 2, you're going to be over on it. Psukim 3 and 4 in blue is only for water creatures, aquatic water creatures. Psukim 5, 6, 7 in green are only for something that crawls on the ground. And Pasuk 8 is for something that flies. So let's do this exercise together. Let's say you're eating an aquatic creature. You go to China and you want to try out one of the aquatic creatures. How many lavim are you over? Well, you're always over the first 2 on the top, 1 and 2. Plus, in this case, you're going to be over 3 and 4, for a total of 4. Let's say you want to eat a giant, beautiful Madagascar cockroach. The ones that, the jukim that fly around, they know how to fly, believe it or not. Some Americans don't believe it, but it's true. They do fly. There's nothing worse, Mamish, nothing worse than a cockroach that I believe it's the fastest creature on earth relative to its size. So it could move really, really fast on the ground. When you try to whack it with a towel, it takes off and flies. And it seems like it wants to hit you in the face, and it's gross. So let's say you eat a giant Madagascar cockroach. So you're chayav for the green ones, for psukim 5, 6, 7, plus 1 and 2 for a total of 5. Same thing with the ant. What if you eat a wasp, a bee, a bumblebee? So it knows how to walk. It walks around on the table. It goes into its beehive, so it's walking. So for that, you're over on 5, 6, 7. Obviously, plus 1 and 2, so that's 5. Plus, it's a flying creature, so it gets you for number 8. Now, for that, let's see it inside. So it's going to move here. Omar Rav Yehuda Haimando Ochal Biniso the Bekrova. If you eat a worm out of a cabbage, Malkin Lay Mishum Sheretz Hashoretz Al Aretz. Let's see. I didn't see that. That's a water creature. And this is, yeah, so this is like a worm. Yeah, I don't know what he did there with the worm, but over here, Yechaya for the first time, 2 psukim and 5, 6, 7. Beautiful. And there's a few. Let me just show you this. Oh, Shema. Here's a guy that eats the worm. Very gishmak. What do we have next? We have the ant chilling. I love this picture. This is very, very good. What else do we have? Oh, here we have Ahud Ochal Benisa. The guy ate the water creature. What's a water creature? Not this. But there's a water creature, the big crow. V'nagdi Rav Yehuda. And Rav Yehuda gave him Makkos. If you eat some sort of water creature, you get 4. What's the 4? Let's do the 4. Here, this is the 4. Okay. The first 4 psukim, that's the 4. 2 are for water, 2 are for shekets. Mimala, what if you eat an ant like, so that we did already, ant, where are we? Ant? Oh, it's 5. And chomesh. Mishum sheretz hashoretz al arts. 0, but if you eat a wasp, like a sheish, mishum sheretz oif. And that includes also the 8th pasuk. Okay, and let's just see what we missed here in terms of the. Oh, this one was givaldic. We saw it already once before, but it's kedai to see again. Just the quality of the animation. It gets better and better as time goes on. This guy looks real. Unbelievable. Okay, so this is important because when I was in yeshiva, we always had a guy that was very makbid on this halacha. Hamashes nekavav, if a person holds in going to the bathroom, so there's always this guy who's super makbid on this halacha, and he run to the bathroom every 17 minutes. He's back in the bathroom. So that could be OCD a little bit, wrapped in frumkeit, saying that, okay, fine. But what is the halacha? So I looked into it a little bit back in the day, that it seems like from the Mishnah Berurah that you're only chayiv when you really, 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 he calls it a taiva to go to the bathroom. That's how he calls it. You really, really have to go. But if you just start having the urge, if you could hold it in for 72 minutes, but the bottom line is, it seemed like that you're only over when you really, really have to go. Okay. So here's the halacha. Amashes nekava over mishum l'tashaksu. It could be it's a little different when you want to go daven and learn. Okay. There's a Pri Chodesh that says a very interesting thing. I thought it's fascinating because back in the day, parents, not my parents, but Emes, not my parents, but I heard of, I had friends, and I think I know of people that do this. They force their kids, let's say, to eat vegetables. You have to eat the spinach, you have to eat this, that, you have to be healthy. So I don't know, but you have to ask your Rav. It could be that they're over on Baal Tashaks, because when a person doesn't like a certain food, let's say vegetables, and they eat those vegetables, even though everybody else likes it, but you don't like it, then you're over on Baal Tashaks. So when a father or mother forces their child to eat something they don't like, good. The other thing about Baal Tashaksu is acting in a way that you shouldn't be doing things that are disgusting, especially in the eyes of others. So picking your nose, these are not just manners. Some people think, it's just manners. But it's not. The Torah talks about it. It's an halacha. Grossing other people. The Gemara talks about spitting in front of somebody that could gross them out, or all sorts of things that make people queasy. Oh, maybe I'm over in Baal Tashaksu when I show the videos of blood. I hear. If you drink out of a vessel that's meant to draw blood, it's gross. It's a bloody vessel. What are you drinking from it? What's worse than somebody that eats an apple and finds a worm in it? Somebody that says this joke. Yeah, because the joke is, everybody knows the joke. What's worse than somebody that eats an apple and finds a worm in it? Somebody that eats an apple and finds a half a worm in it. What if a person took a bunch of ants and tried to make a gazais out of it? This shmaka picture. He wants to be over this, or he's desperate to be over this. So you have to, and it's not, if it's a full ant, that's a bria. We discussed bria, a full animal, you're chayiv, even if it's very, very small. But since it's risek, he chopped it up, he put it through the blender, now you have a bunch of parts. Now you're not chayiv unless it's a full kazais. And then he brought one live one. So this picture would have been a lot better if they were all dead. It's not accurate to the Gemara, it's just funny. But they're all dead. One of them is alive, and Rashi says that it dies as he's swallowing it. For whatever reason, Tosfos argues on that. Now, with the live one, you have a complete olive worth of animal, and then now you're chayiv for nevela, and you're chayiv for the live one. So how much are you chayiv? How many lavim? How many isurim was a person over for eating one ant? 5. Plus one more isur for nevela. Chamesh mishum bria for full ant. Va'achas mishum kazais nevela. By the way, there was a real quickly. I know we're late, but there's a Rav. Simcha Yisrael, I thought it was a beautiful story. A Rav where an almana comes to him on Erev Pesach, a few hours before Pesach, and says, "Rabbi, how do you check this lettuce?" So he didn't want to tell her, "Hey, you should have bought the Gush Katif stuff or whatever it's called today," and you don't check. She says, "Leave it here. I'll tell you how to do it when you come back." Anyways, he Erev Pesach, he took it and he washed it and he did the whole checking and he gave it back to her. Tzaddik of Yid, of helping an almana, somebody doesn't know, somebody doesn't have money. I thought it was a beautiful story. On Erev Pesach, the last thing, he could have said, "Listen, you do like this, like that, get out of here, I'm busy." No, took the time, went through it for her. Okay. And now the Gemara just says, Rav Omar Rabbi Yochanan afilu shnayim, all you need is 2 ants. Rav Eli Omar afilu echad v'hu, only 2 ants plus the live one, or 1 ant plus the live one. I have to look for a picture of a giant ant. They have these really large ants that are kazayis. So if you have a very large ant, 1 is enough. Plus the other guy, it's the one is a little less than a kazayis, plus the live one is a full kazayis. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.